morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We wanted to start this morning, as we often do on Tuesdays, by welcoming Ambassador David Comichong to Morning Barbados. And today he's brought along the Honorable Colin Jordan, MP, Minister of Labour, Social Security, and the Third Sector. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome.
Good morning, Tisha. Good morning. Good morning. And thank you, Ambassador, for bringing me along.
Absolutely. Well, he is kind of the staple here on Morning Barbados. He's here every Tuesday morning. And, but it's good to have you here as well.
Thank you.
Sharing of something that's very, very important. Throughout the season of emancipation, there are a number of dates that we look forward to. And coming up this Friday, the 26th, is the Day of National Significance. And the government will be staging something equally as important as what happened to commemorate the occasion. So I'll start with you, Ambassador. Talk to us about the significance of the Day of Significance and how it will be commemorated this time around.
It's important, you know, Barbadians, we can get so caught up in the crop over festival that sometimes we can lose sight that just as we are celebrating crop over, we are also celebrating our season of emancipation, which actually started on the 14th of April, the date of the Bussa Rebellion. But we are now reaching really the climax of the season of emancipation with the July 26th Day of National Significance, and followed shortly thereafter with the August 1st Emancipation Day. But this Friday, 26th of July, is when we commemorate that transformative episode in the history of Barbados that took place 87 years ago, the Clement Paine-centered People's Rebellion. And this was, you know, back in the 1930s, these rebellions swept right across the Caribbean. It wasn't just a Barbados thing. It started in Belize in 1934. From Belize, the people rose up in St. Kitts, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica, Guyana in 1939. And they called that series of people's rebellions the new emancipation, because slavery had been abolished in 1834, 1838, and for 100 years, very little had changed for the masses of the black people of the Caribbean. And so by the 1930s, 100 years after the abolition of slavery, our people were saying enough is enough. We are going to send a message that these societies have to change. And that message was received because there was the local establishment set up the Dean Commission of Inquiry, the British government set up the Moyne Commission of Inquiry, and out of those commissions came Trade Union Act, political parties, ultimately universal adult suffrage, newer secondary schools, you know, labor commissioners, you name it. So it is so important that we Barbadian people, that we isolate this wonderful episode in our history, that we pay respect to the men and women who made that sacrifice, and that we look back upon it and commemorate it as something that represents the best of the Barbadian spirit.
Absolutely. And Minister Jordan, I know that the theme, Past Struggles, Future Victories, speaks specifically to that and a whole lot more. Tell us more about what we can expect.
Well, I'd like to place what Ambassador spoke about in kind of a context where labor is concerned. You began by asking about crop over season. Ambassador mentioned season of emancipation. So that celebrating the end of the crop, celebrating the end of a harvest, speaks not just to the fact that the canes were cut, but that the effort of workers had gone into the harvest, because there's no harvest without the workers. And so the celebration of crop over must include celebrating the work of those who allowed there to be a crop in the first place. The planting, because there were no mechanized forms of planting or harvesting. So the planting and the reaping of the crop is really worker-centered. Now, the theme for this year, the importance of trade unions and the rights and progress they've fought and won for us all, is under the rubric of past struggles and future victories. And what we will be celebrating is that where we are now did not just happen. We heard about what happened in 1937 and in the 1930s across the Caribbean. What we can enjoy now, what we now sometimes take for granted, is a result of struggle, is a result of people suffering loss of life, injuries, real struggle across many centuries, but most recently the 1930s. And so we think it important that as we celebrate this day of national significance, that we bring back to the minds of Barbadians that what we enjoy was not handed to us on a plate. It was not given by anybody. It had to be fought for. This is a result of struggle. And the workers have been in the forefront of this struggle. We can go back to 1675 in Barbados, the uprising that close to my heart because it was planned to take place, was centered in St. Peter. That was workers then enslaved, but workers nonetheless, who were going to rise up. 1692, then Bussa in 1816. All of the progress, almost all of the progress that the country has seen with respect to human rights has been a result of the struggle of workers over the centuries. So we have seen a lot of progress. We see ourselves in Barbados as maybe one of the more advanced societies in the Caribbean, but it did not happen just like that. It was not somebody snapping a finger. It was not just a natural evolution of a situation. This was the result of a struggle, and that struggle involved sacrifice. And on the day of national significance this year, we will reflect on the struggle and celebrate what that struggle has produced for us, and that allows me and my children to enjoy a Barbados that we feel is a decent country, a good country to live in.
And there's no better place to do it than in the square that celebrates Clement Payne, who was a part of that early struggle as well, Ambassador.
Yeah. Oh yes, Golden Square, Freedom Park, it's sacred ground. Golden Square, you know, if you go and see it now, you wouldn't imagine what it was like back in 1937. It wasn't that spacious, beautiful open area. It was in fact the worst slum in the whole of Barbados. That was a slum area full of deplorable housing, people packed in. But it was where Clement Payne said he found his greatest supporters. And no doubt he found his greatest supporters there, because those were perhaps the people who were suffering most in Barbados at the time. So Golden Square was where Clement Payne held many of his meetings. And we have now, because it was where the rebellion actually started in July 26, 1937. So in tribute to that, we have put up that beautiful Freedom Park that Barbadians respect, because it really reflects, as I said, the best of our history and heritage. But on Friday, we want to invite all Barbadians to come out. We're going to have two things are going to be happening. Starting at 6 o'clock, we're going to have our Day of National Significance ceremony. And we are going to have spokespersons from the 4 oldest, most veteran trade unions of Barbados. And that is the Barbados Nurses Association, which actually started a year before the rebellion. That actually started in 1936. A nurse called Eunice Gibson, who had the foresight to establish this association.
And I was wondering, why do you know that name? And then it came back to me when you said it a second time, the Polyclinic.
Yes, Eunice Gibson. So, you know, Colin says, these are the people who fought for us. Then you have, we have the BNA. They used to be the Barbados Registered Nurses Association, but they changed their name recently to the Barbados Nurses Association. Then we have the Barbados Workers Union, which was registered as a trade union in 1941. We have the National Union of Public Workers, which began as the Civil Service Association in 1944. And the Barbados Secondary Teachers Union, which was established in 1946. So we speak about the progress that we enjoy today being the result of struggles. So whether you go back to the struggles of Cuffy and Bussa and against slavery, or you go to the struggles of Clement Payne and Israel Lovell and Darnley Allen and Ulrich Grant and Mortimer Mesquite and Eunice Belgrave in the 1930s, or you go to the struggles of the trade unions, which built upon that foundation and fought many historic battles so that we could enjoy the kind of society that we enjoy today. So the trade unions, each trade union is going to speak about some exciting episode of struggle in their past, where they had to undertake a struggle to win rights and progress for the Barbadian people. So they will regale us with some story of, an important struggle of the past, and then they will all look forward to the future. What are they working on now? What future victory do they want to see materialize and that they are working towards? And then, of course, we'll have Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley, who will give the feature address. So that will start at 6. That will go for about an hour, and then we go into the National Folk Concert. So it's going to be a really great evening when we celebrate the best of the Barbadian heritage, history, and sense of identity.
Oh, I certainly didn't know that the Barbados Nurses Association was that old, but it says a great deal that we still have the BWU and NWPW, NUPW, and the Barbados Secondary Teachers Union around, at this time, being the very first unions to have started back then, Minister.
Yeah, I think it speaks to a sustainability that I do not think society, those persons who consider themselves to be leading lights in society back then, resided in those who came before us. There would have been a feeling that, well, these people are forming groups, but it's not going to last too long. But I think when we look back at the fact that ordinary working people formed these organizations, some of them did not have the kind of schooling that we have now. Maybe they did not possess some of the tools. People now study organizational behavior, organizational systems and structure. Ordinary people came together, and the word that we use all the time is solidarity. And solidarity is what takes us beyond sometimes skills and certification. People standing together and have proven that over many decades, these organizations that started humble beginnings are still standing strong today, still fighting these struggles, and still looking forward to future victories. And I think it speaks to the resilience of people who, even in difficult circumstances, could come together and could organize themselves and still, all these years after, still be in existence. The organizations have evolved, but they're still in existence.
It speaks to the foundation.
The foundation and the spirit that drove those who started these organizations.
Absolutely. So I'm happy to have the Clement Payne story, which was compiled and edited by the ambassador. Thank you. I'm always happy to see you, even happier when you bring gifts. But I certainly will be going through this. It's always wonderful to get a little piece of history. And to remind you, it starts at 6 o'clock. It's coming up on Friday. As the ambassador told you, the various unions will speak, and then featured remarks by the Prime Minister, which will be followed by the folk concert titled Full Circle. And I believe that's exactly what this is. Certainly is full circle. I want to thank both of you gentlemen for making time to come and share with us this morning. Minister Jordan, we hope to see you a lot more. I know you have to travel from very far.
Yeah, I travel from coffee country to come to Bridgetown. And I tell you just as in parting that in the 1937 Workers Uprising, and just to indicate to you that it is not difficult for people from so far north to be involved, in the 1937 uprising, the second largest number of martyrs were actually from St. Peter. There are three, most were from St. Michael, but the second largest number were from St. Peter. So we've been involved. We can get to CBC.
Again, thank you very much. And we most certainly hope that you can get out on Friday to be a part of that presentation as we commemorate the Day of National Significance, and a whole lot more, of course, through the folk concert coming up as well, and the various presentations.
Morning, morning, morning.